All right, good morning, Happy New Year. Quick show of hands. How many people raised their hand and say they had an amazing Christmas? Best? Great? Okay, good. Who would like to be honest and say, I had a pretty miserable Christmas? Okay, got a few. 9:30 was all happy. How many people are still trying to figure out what even happened during Christmas? And how many of you have been off for a few weeks and you're like having anxiety and stomach from school and work because you have to go back? Okay, fair enough. So good news from my wife and I for Christmas this year. We got new phones. And by brand new phones, I mean both our kids got new phones. So we got the hand-me-downs. And I will tell you this for my wife both night. The iPhone 14 that we have is so much better than the iPhone 5 we had. It's just amazing, so good. No, but what happened during Christmas was I knew both kids were getting phones, and I just thought Christmas morning is going to be a mess because I know what's going to happen. My wife's in here. She knows I love her. She's one of the smartest people ever. But when it comes to technology, her and my great-grandma are on the same, they don't know what's going on. So I know when they get new phones, I'm going to have to sit down, transfer their phones from their old ones, transfer ours. So everybody else is enjoying the morning, right? I'm just over there with so many different things to do. I'm doing tasks and trying to get this, and my daughter's worked quickly. She basically took hers and did it. And my son, we can't figure it out. Then we switch his phone number over to a new phone, but it's not working, so now he doesn't have a phone number. Anyways, it's just and I'm the one that gets, my wife's like, what's wrong with it? Why is it not? Then my son chimes in, why is it taking so long? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. When I worked at Apple for 20 years, I didn't ask them. But anyways, I was kind of thinking about that for this morning. We're kicking off a new series, You in 5 Years, and we're going to go through the book of Philippians over the next 5 weeks. And just to give you kind of a heads up, this is a book that Paul wrote. Paul wrote a lot of the New Testament, and it's called the book of Philippians because he's writing to a church of Philippi that he started, but he's in prison right now in Rome awaiting possible execution. And it's actually a pretty neat book. We're going to talk about a few of those things, but I was just thinking about what do you do when things seem stressful? What do we do? And, I think we want peace. We would love to have peace. And I'm not sure peace so much disappears, but I think it gets drained by just all the things in life. If I could be honest that morning, I love Christmas. A fan, right? Enjoy my family being home. Both kids are home from college. But my peace was probably drained a little bit because I'm not just getting to watch TV and drink coffee and pretend like I'm watching them open gifts like I have their whole life. I literally have to be doing something, and I think it gets drained. I was thinking, this is 2 months ago. We're back here working on a Tuesday, and Fields is on the front computer because he's setting up stuff for the songs, and I'm always on the back one. I use that back one all the time. It's my computer, and I'm just back there doing stuff, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to have to get a new computer. I don't know how expensive they are, but this computer, it's shot. It doesn't work. It's terrible, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, why is it so slow? And he looked over, and he's like, wait a minute. Dude, this is no lie. He said, how many tabs you have up? I had Chrome, Google Chrome up. He said, how many tabs you have? I was like, I don't know, a few. He counted them. How many do you think I had? 84, right? He's like, you can't do that. But I think for some of us in life, that's probably how it feels. It's like we are just completely overwhelmed and we have so many things. I'm like, well, I can't take it off because I need to go back to it and I got to pull this, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that's probably how we feel in life. So this group, as I said, Paul's in prison. He sends them a letter. And in this letter, if you think about it, he started this church, so they're kind of like his spiritual children. Now, if you know anything about kids, they really want to know one thing from this letter. At the end of the day, they want to know, Paul, when are you going to get out? We love you, we care about you. When are you going to get out? And what's interesting about this is Paul doesn't ever answer that question. He really doesn't even really allude to it too much. And he basically, to them, just is going to say, hey, I've got a few questions for you. No, Paul, we want to answer. No, I've got questions for you. And I think for us, as we're kind of thinking about this, Paul's going to give them not the answer, but really 3 really good questions. And the future you, okay? I say this, when you hear you in 5 years, if you're younger, it's like, oh my gosh, what would that look like? I'll be in college. Will I be married? Oh, what would that look? Will we have 2 kids by then? And that's all great. And this isn't self-help. I'm not against it. You guys should all, I'm sure most of us in this room, we're in Lawrence County, we're the tri-state. We probably should eat better. We should probably actually exercise some. We should probably, do healthy things. I'm all for that. But I want this to be, and this isn't cheesy, I really want this series to be more soul help. Because I think when you can kind of fix what's internally going on in your life, when you can understand what that means, then it really does make your future better. So just the kind of the concept for you guys here is this future you, I think, will be so much better, especially this week, if you quit trying to have all the answers. Maybe just for a second, quit trying to have all the answers, try to have it all figured out. No, you control freaks like me can't handle that. But instead, let's learn to ask better questions in the middle of it all. So, I'm a computer geek, love technology, and one thing I remember when the old computers came out, way back 90s, early 2000s, a guy showed me once, I was like, well, I can't click on this, I don't know what to do, and I just remember, you never forget this, he said, no, just use control and click this. So I remember I hit it, and then the other button, he's like, no, you have to hold control and then do this. And basically what he showed me was like everything you ever want to do on a computer basically can be control and then clicking something else. And I like that because I got to be in control, right? There's a shortcut to all of life. So this morning as we go through Philippians 1, I want to kind of keep that computer nerd stuff because I am the technology person in our home. But I want to give you just 3 really important questions. The first one is, I think, in the theme of Control, Alt, Delete. So what's the first question? What does it matter? What does it matter? Okay, so like I said, Paul's in prison. He's awaiting possible execution. And here's what he says, starting in verse 9 of the letter he writes back to them. He says, I pray that your love will overflow more and more and that you'll keep on growing in knowledge and understanding. For I want you, check out this verse, for I want you to understand what really matters. I want you to know what really matters. No, Paul, we just need to know, when are you getting out, right? When are you going to come back and see us? And in the middle of that, he doesn't even answer the question. He says, I want you to think about a better question. What really matters? So you may live pure and blameless lives until the day of Christ's return. May you always be filled with the fruit of your salvation, the righteous character produced in you by the life of Jesus. Produce. Now, I have produce underlined in my Bible because I want you to see this is not self-help 101. Hey, get better, do more for God. Hey, I hope in 2026 you do more for God than you've ever done. Sure, do that. That's great. I'm all for it. Nothing against that. But that's not going to work. And I'll tell you why. Because you don't have it in you. This is part of the reason why self-help doesn't work. Because it involves self. And I'm broken. And you notice what he said? He said, no, it's produced in you. By what? How do I get to this? It's the life produced in me by Jesus. And he says this will bring much glory and praise to God. So the first question, Paul simply says, I want you guys to think about what really matters. Sometimes I think all of us could do a little better in life if we just stop when we're freaking out and we're stressing and oh my gosh, and what's my kids, and what are we going to do about college, how are we going to pay, and all that. I'm not saying you dismiss it, but sometimes you need to step back and say, does this really, anyone have, I love, not making fun of my kids, I love when my kids were little when they were teenagers, right, especially like middle school type age, because it was fun to listen to them come home and just be so freaking out. Oh my gosh, she said this, right? And some of you Facebook warriors said, oh, I'll take care of this. But it was funny to me because I thought, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a big deal. It's not going to even matter to you in a week. But as a good parent, you don't just say, oh, who cares? Like, you get serious about it. Like, I understand it's a big deal to you. But you see perspective because you're older. This is what Paul's doing to them. When you getting out? Now, I got to confess, you guys, I struggle because I'm probably kind of on the spectrum and OCD, and I've got weird, my kids make fun of me all the time. Like, we love you, Dad, but you are a weirdo, okay? And so what happened, I was off for like the last week and a half. And so like a little bit early on, I got this kind of thought about what if we, my wife and I, our kids are juniors in college, getting ready to graduate, what if we built a camper van? Okay? Now think about this. I thought once they leave, we'll never pay for a hotel ever again. We will pull in our van. No one will know we're there. It'll be hidden. We'll just sleep in the back. So I'm trying to tell my wife, like, no, we can have a bathroom. It'll be hidden. It'll get good gas mileage. That's why you don't get an RV. If you get an RV, people know when you're in a hotel. We're going to put a little hard hat and a little work vest so people think there's a worker staying at the hotel. Genius plan. Now, as dumb as that is, my wife she's the greatest. She's the cheapest person I've ever met, though. All she heard was, no hotels ever again? Well, I'm in, do it. So what that did in my brain, because I'm a weirdo, is I started looking online, all these different vans. I'm on Facebook Marketplace. I'm talking to someone in Spanish. I'm converting it back and forth. I'm like, they're probably not even real. It doesn't matter. I'm all about this. And my kids have made fun of me this whole break because they're like, Dad has spent about 10 hours a day looking at vans. Just looking at vans. And I remember one night, my daughter and son, they're getting ready to go to bed. They're young. And they're like, we can't stay up this late. We're going to bed. I was like, I'll be in there in a little bit. Just looking at my vans. Well, I stayed up till like 3 a.m. Like an immature idiot, right? Like a 12-year-old. I'm looking at man. Very next night, I'm sitting there. They go to bed again. It's like 2 a.m. My son goes to bed. He's like, I can't do this. You're a weirdo. But my daughter walked out, and this is what kind of hit me. She said, Dad, go to bed. She talks to me like a child, right? Like, I'm a grown man. I'll go to bed. But she said this phrase. She said, those vans will still be there tomorrow when you wake up. Now, as crazy as that is, it was a little bit of like, okay, don't, what does it really matter? I mean, you guys know me. I'm not going to follow through with anything. We're not even going to have a camper van. So I think what they're really saying is, how about quit wasting our break doing something that doesn't matter? What does it matter? That's a great question for you guys watching online. What does it matter? And here's the beauty about Jesus. Jesus would see all these problems when he met with people, and he never dismissed it. It wasn't like, quit being a baby, you're fine. And I think sometimes in church we do that. Oh, just overlook it. No, it's real, and you're human, and it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be stressed. It's okay to feel like, I don't know what to do. All that's fine, right? But there is perspective to step back. Like I told you with our kids, one of the healthiest things you can do as a parent is not like dismiss stuff, because that's the world to them. That's what God does with us. He's like, no, it's important to me because it's important to you. I love you. You're my kid. But could I help you with some perspective? So maybe you don't lose your mind when a week from now or a month from now, you're like, okay, that really wasn't worth it. Paul's in a pretty serious situation. He says, for I want you to understand what really matters. Control, Alt, Delete. Second question. You can take control. If you're a Mac guy, then you use Command. But you know how you can take control and you can do Control C. You want to know what Control C is? Yeah, four dorks in here. Thank you. Front row. Dorks sat in the front row, by the way. You slackers did that in school. You sat in the back smoking a cigarette. That's why you don't know what Control C means, okay? They know. Yeah, copy, right? Control V? Yeah. And last one, Control S? Oh, yeah. You're like, we don't know. Okay. Control C, yeah. So here's the question. What do I choose? Look what he says in verse 12. He says, and I want you to know, my dear brothers and sisters, that everything that has happened to me here has helped to spread the good news. Paul, we just want to know when you're getting out. And Paul says, no, I want you guys to understand everything, even the bad things. And I'm not dismissing that. And I don't just say, oh, nothing, I'm good. But you don't hear him just going and spiraling and losing his mind, because he says, I want you to know, there's been a lot of good things that's happened, even to all the bad things to me. Why? Because facts happen to you, meaning happens in you. Let me say that again. Facts in your life, stuff is going to happen to you, but meaning is what starts happening in me. It's when God helps me realize, hey, maybe I want to use this to do something in you that actually can benefit you sometime later. Now, back to my phone. So here's what happened. I told you my daughter gets hers fixed. She's happy. She's done her thing. I've got to get his switch because it's going to be my wife's phone. I've got my daughter's. I should have just left it, but I'm a loving husband. I'm a good father, according to that Christian song. But anyways, so in the middle of that, I'm like trying to get his stuff, and I finally get it all set up. It's transferring, and Apple pops up, and I show him, I'm like, guys, I saved the day. Look at it. Apple says it'll be transferred, all your data, everything over in 8 minutes. What I didn't realize is when Apple says 8 minutes, what it does is about 10 minutes after that, it bumps to 36 minutes. And then about 10 minutes after that, it bumps to 52 minutes. Right? And that's frustrating. Why? Because all of us in this room, watching online, we have timetables, and we're like, we need this to happen here, now. No, I want to be married by the time I'm 22. No, I want to make sure we have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, by 20, whatever that is. For you, you're like, man, once I get this job, then I get a raise. If I can just get out of this job, get the next one, I'm going to do that by the time I'm 35. Go down the line. I'm going to be in college. But what happens when your timetable gets changed? What happens when you're looking at life and it's like 6 minutes and it's like, how come it went to 54? That's tough. But you know what's tougher than that? In the middle of it showing about 48 minutes, it just went black. It went black. I had no clue what happened. I didn't know if it died. I didn't know if it was over. It gave me no details. And I thought about that. I thought, that is life. Life is tough when things get delayed. But you know what the toughest part of life is? It's when you're in the dark and you have no clue what's going on. You have no clue if it's going to come back. You have no clue if you're going to get married again. You have no clue if you'll ever be loved again. Right? That's the stuff in the dark. Paul is in the dark here. And he has just the baller statement to say, I want you to know everything that's happening to me literally has helped spread the good news. Look what he says in the next verse. Verse 13. He says, for everyone here, including the whole palace guard, knows that I am in chains because of Christ. And because of my imprisonment, most of the believers here have gained confidence and boldly speak God's message without fear. But Paul, you're chained to a guard 24/7. And he says, no. A guard's chained to me 24/7. They have to listen to me every single day. You see, he understood perspective. I think perspective is important. I know some of you aren't parents in here. Some of you don't want to be parents. But for parents, some of the greatest advice I received was a long time ago. And someone told me, they said, don't chase clean carpets. Because one day they're going to be gone and you would wish they'd come back and mess up your carpet again. And now my wife and I, we're old. I know we don't look it. I know some of you are like, you couldn't be a day over 30. I know. I get that all the time. We're young looking. I get it, okay? Send me emails. No, but seriously, I'm in that stage now where they're here. Daughter leaves today. My son will leave in a week. And I can tell you, love our life. Very thankful for what we have. But you do, you're like, yeah, that's not, I'll call it my brother. We're sitting there yesterday. I love it. Straight Carpenter move. We're eating, and he said, bet you can't wait for your kids to leave, so meals are cheaper, aren't they? And I was like, I agree with that, right? No, yeah, making a joke. But in all seriousness, yeah, things are different. But you do look back, and you're like, oh, man, it was nice while they were here. Now maybe that's not your story. Maybe you're not even a parent. But what are you chasing? What are you so wrapped up in? You're like, oh my gosh, if this fails, if this doesn't work, it will end me. That's probably your clean carpet. And you got to ask yourself, is it worth chasing? So we got Control Alt Delete, and we asked the question, what does it matter? Then we said Control S, what do I choose? And the last question, I think this is really important. Like I told you in the beginning, when I found out I could hold down control and do anything I wanted, I liked that. Why? Because I want to be in control, right? I'd like to run Control S, Control V, Control whatever. So as we look, we run control. Here's the question. What does it mean? What does it mean? Now, if that's God calling, answer. Do it. Might be the big guy upstairs. I would. Like, been praying, just want him to say something. He called you, bro. Right in church. No. Anyways, but here's what I was saying. Think about this for a second. What if we rephrase this a little bit? I'm going to spread the letters out, okay? Instead of me trying to run control my whole life, what if I ask myself a better question? Are you in control? Are you in control? Now, you type A's in here, like myself. Don't like this. I get it. But I think there's actually freedom when you do get it. You're not in control. And I'm not either. You're not. And I wonder if you couldn't find more freedom than you ever have in 2026 if you realize this real simple lesson. You are not in control. And the more you try to fight to be in control, the less freedom you actually have, because it's not the good news. The good news is not God saying, you got to be in control. You got to control your destiny. You got to make sure. Yes, like I said, work hard. Play the world's games. I told you that before. I tell my kids all the time, sports, right? Play the game. You get ranked every day. You get ranked in school. Play the game. Knock it out. I'm all for it. Use your talents. But just know when you come home, that's not how we feel about you. That's not how God feels about you. It has nothing to do with him. It's not based on me or you or our control. It's based on his son who did it all for us. I had a meeting with probably 12, 14 people a month ago in this back room on Thursday. We do some meetings back there. And there's a lot of different people with young kids, some people with no kids, some people not married. So it's a pretty collective group. And I asked them, I said, I want you to tell me what are your biggest struggles. trying to plan out what we want to talk about for 2026. Can you tell me your biggest struggles? Can you tell me people you know, what they're struggling with? Just go through, and as they're talking, I'm just trying to write down things and make some mental notes, and they're talking about a lot of different things, but kind of the theme to me was, I heard a lot of people say, I'm stressed. I'm busy. I'm overwhelmed. I love my kids, but my goodness, our schedule is relentless. And I was listening to this stuff, and I thought, you know what? That's still a fun phase of your life, blah, blah, blah. But then it hit me. As they kept talking, I kept pushing and asking questions. One guy dealing with a lot of unknown health issues right now, and he's like, I get consumed with it, and I get on the computer, and I try to fix it, and I'm AIing every day. You know, I just had this cough. Does that mean it's gotten worse? And you could just feel the pain of that. All these people, though, it hit me. If we're honest, it's because we need to be in control. And if I'm not in control, I'm going to flip out. But you're not. A little street language, you're not. In control, you're not. Neither am I. Look what he says in verse 19. He says, for I know that as you pray for me and the Spirit of Jesus Christ helps me, this will lead to my deliverance. Thank you, Paul. Finally, we're there. We're there. We get it. You're getting delivered. That's all we need to know, bro. You're getting out. That's all we were wondering. Now, I'll give you a little quick Bible history just so you get the feel of this. The reason this was important is because if you read the middle of Acts, the book of Acts, which is Paul's journeys, in 15, 16, 17, in that range, he meets a lady named Lydia. Good name, right? Lydia. And in Lydia, she becomes a Christian, and she kind of helps him to start this church in Philippi. That's where they're at. Then he meets another girl. She has some issues. They heal her. The town loses their mind because she was kind of the money bank for him. And next thing you know, because of that, they riot. They throw him in prison. And he's sitting in prison with another guy named Silas, a buddy of his. And the Bible says they start singing at midnight. And an angel literally comes in, busts the jail doors open. The guy, the jailer looks at him. He's like, I'm going to die. They'll kill me because you guys are escaping. As they're walking out, the jailer doesn't know what to do. So he's getting ready to kill himself. And they're like, don't. We got you. And and he's like, what must I do to be saved? One of my favorite verses in the Bible. What must I do to be saved? And they say, guys, this is complicated. If you want to get saved today, this is really tough, okay? They say, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ. Believe. He believes. Him and his family become Christians. Baptized. They probably help with the church. Now, why did I tell you that? When he said, this will lead my deliverance, they're like, yeah, angel's going to get you out again. Because he did it before. And that's how we want our life to work, right? No, God, I'm okay with trusting you as long as you give me the outcome I always want. As long as you do all the things I want you to do, God, I'll follow you every day. That's the way it is. As long as I'm in control, but you're kind of still semi-control. Right? They love it. Yes, he's getting delivered. But look what he says. For I will continue to be bold for Christ as I've been in the past, and I trust my life will bring honor to Christ, whether I live or die. Now, they probably met in this little church house, this house church as they called it back then, and they're sitting around, and they would get letters from him, and they would read them, and they write back and forth. So this is one of the documented letters we have. They sit down with this letter, and they're like, he'll be delivered, and I bet someone Pentecostal in there, they're probably like, amen, shouting, dancing. You know, you had Presbyterians and Baptists, like, good news. Best news I've heard all day. Good, right? But they're probably losing their mind. He just said he's going to be delivered. I bet an angel will do it. And then they get to this line. He says, whether I live or die. Wait. How would you die if you're going to get out? And they realize Paul's saying, I may not get out. I might get executed here. And then he says, for to me, living means living for Christ, and dying is even better. Living means living for Christ. Dying is even better. Paul doesn't talk about getting out. He talks about letting go. Think about that. And you're going to find in this whole letter, and this is what kind of shames me a little bit. God's not really God of shame, but it kind of embarrasses me. If I am doing good stuff, I don't do anything wrong, I get thrown in prison, and it's like not really fair or legal, and I write you guys a letter. I write a letter to this church. I'm going to be like, tell Justin, right, because he's front row today. Tell Justin this stinks, and it's not fair. Tell him the food. You guys remember we had first Sunday and all those biscuits and gravy? Wish I could have that. I'm eating grill. I would be complaining my head off. And you're going to find in this book, I'm going to give you a challenge to do this. As you read through this really short book, all you find in there is he keeps talking about joy. Not complaints, not misery, joy. Joy. It actually is the one book in the whole Bible that has the word joy used more than any other time. And it's a guy in a prison cell waiting to die. Now you hear that and we go Bible Belt and we're like, see, trust God, he'll be fine. Can I tell you guys this? If you want to be like a Christian or follow Jesus and help someone, in their lowest moment, don't go, trust God, you'll be fine. Because they might punch you in the face, right? Kid's sick, lost your job, just trust God, you'll be fine. How about you and I fight and I'll be fine, right? That's hard to take. Is it not? Because it's just so dismissive. And we hear this like, okay, yeah, Paul said whatever, just do it. No. He's nervous. You'll find a little bit later. He's feeling it. But he's like, I got to step back and keep perspective. I got to keep my focus on the one thing that is in control, and that is God. Peace isn't clarity. It's not. Peace is trust without control. It's not clear. We think I'll be at peace when I finally get everything clear. But we're in a broken world, and it doesn't work that way. And you're never going to find it. And you're never going to be fully in control. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just telling you find freedom once you believe that more. I'm not in control. You are. Sometimes because of broken things are going to happen to me. I don't want them to happen to me, but you're still in control. Right? That's what Paul is sharing with us. What does it really mean? He's not giving up. I think some of us in here, no offense, I've talked to some of you, you're Eeyores. Right? You think Paul's doing this in prison. Maybe I'll get out, maybe not. Doesn't matter. God's good. What? God's good. You're mumbling, right? That's how we feel. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, no, I'm not giving up hope. I'm not giving up faith. I'm not giving up, but I'm letting go of control. Why? Paul is chained, think about this, he is chained to a prisoner or a prison guard 24/7 and is probably the most free person in that whole palace, in the whole jail. I would argue he's probably the most free person, but you're chained. No, I'm free. That's what I want for you guys. That would be my greatest gift of 2026 is that you live in the freedom of the good news. So, this morning, I want to challenge you guys, okay? And I want to kind of explain what I mean by that. How do we do this? Because I've learned in my life I can't just do this and say, okay, Trent, got it. I'm not going to control. I'm not in control. I'm going to trust God, blah, blah, blah. And then tomorrow something's going to blow up and you're going to lose all control and you're going to lose your mind, right? You're going to be yelling at your kids. I get it. Here's how this really works. This is not a one-time decision I just get better at. I've got to believe it more and more. How do I do that? We have a thing, and Aaron talked about, if you're a first-time guest, fill it out. But if you go to c3church.tv/hub, if you go in there, first thing you do, you go in there, it would look like a little app. If you're on your phone, it's just like, it looks like an app. And there's a button that says, Get Good News. Here's why I'm telling you that. If you do that, starting tomorrow, okay, you just click on it. Starting tomorrow, Monday through Friday, we're going to read through the book of Philippians. We'll just do a little devotional that we write kind of based off the message. You know, if you're like, you guys are terrible writers, we get it, skip it. But the bottom part, read through the New Testament. We're going to read through the book of Philippians this week and the book of Mark, starting with that. If you do that, it takes 5 minutes a day. If you do that, you read through the whole New Testament in a year. Now, this is not a checklist. This is not, you're going to get closer to God. You'll be God's homeboy. God will love you more. I'm not saying that. That's not how it works. But I've learned this. When I constantly get more good news, I live with more joy, more peace, less control. I'm okay sometimes when things don't go my way. Why? Because I want to constantly feed myself with good news. I love Martin Luther. I was laughing with my kids. It's been a while back. I said Martin Luther. I think it was my son. One of them, I think it was Tate. He was like, Martin Luther King? I'm like, no, Martin Luther. Never heard of him, right? It's like, who's that? But he was an old, like, Protestant Reformation. Anyways, but I've said it before. I love it. Martin Luther said this. He said, I preach the good news to you every week because you need to hear it every week. And he said, but I preach the good news to myself every day because I need to hear it every day. That's what the goal of cross training was for us. Really, it's nothing more. It's not a checklist. It's not feel guilty. Johnny, can I pick on you real quick before we pray and get out of here? You okay with that? Okay. I give her a hard time because it's like my wife is, there's a little place you can listen to it. So she always just listens to it on the way to work. She just plays it in the morning. It takes like literally 7 minutes, right? She always listens to it. But here's the kind of running joke. I'll talk to her on Christmas break, and I'm like, hey, have you checked out cross training? Right? hasn't done in a while. Just giving her a hard time, just having fun. But that's really not why we do it. It really isn't. So it's not, oh, you should, you're getting better. It isn't. It's just I want you guys to have good news. You have good news, really. And through that, if nothing else, do it for a week. You get to read through the book of Philippians. Hey, I'll give you news. Read through the book of Philippians. You don't have to show up for the next 4 weeks, right? You guys will probably do better than I would anyways. You're like, he's not making sense with this. I make sense. Fine, do that. But I do want you to have good news. Why? Because when we have good news and we live in good news, then we find joy and peace. Like I said, not checklists, not stuff to get what I want from God, not deals. Just simply, God, help me get more good news. Why? Because I want to live in good news. If you think back to what he said, very beginning, he said, I pray that your love will overflow more and more, and you'll keep on growing in knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding what? The good news. It's better than you think. Wait, Trent, you mean to tell me, what if I don't quit vaping or smoking this year? I'm just going to do it less. Okay. No. And that's what we do. God, I'm going to quit drinking. No, I'm not going to quit drinking. I'm going to drink less. Right? And we keep thinking we're bargaining with God. And God's like, no. I just want you to have more good news. Because when you find out who you truly are in me, it changes everything. That's what he wants for you. That's what we want for here. You know, I hope this year, I hope plans work out. I hope we're building. I hope we break ground, grow, love it. Thankful for you guys. Thankful for your support. Love it. That's not why I'm here. It's not. I'll be honest with you. I just hope we can be a group of people that walks out knowing we're loved, we're accepted, and then we show that to other people. Because if you do that, I'm telling you, it's unstoppable. It's been unstoppable since Jesus came. That's what I want for you, to get more good news, live in good news, share good news, be good news to people. That's why we're here. So if you will take just a moment, if we could just pray, just close our eyes. And before we pray, this is a very serious moment, and I don't want to break that up, but Sherry did tell me, and she's the boss, and I don't want her mad at me. She did say there's to-go containers for breakfast if you want it. Okay, there I said it, so she doesn't kill me because I love her. But let's pray. Jesus, I thank you so much. I do. I thank you for just giving us another year. Jesus, I know there are people in this room right now going through some really tough stuff. Jesus, there's some people in here that I know their story. There's some people in the 930 that I know their story going through heavy, heavy stuff. Some of us in here, maybe not so much, but we're still going through some stuff. I pray today you would help us. Help us to maybe step back in this moment, and if nothing else, help us to grow more in your love and understanding, as Paul said, but then maybe be able to ask these questions. What does it matter? What matter in a day? What matter in a decade? But also help us to say, what do I need to choose? And maybe help us, even in some dark moments, to be able to say, God, what does it mean? What do you mean by this? God, help me to realize that deliverance may not be you getting me out of the situation. It may be what you do in the situation in my life that I'm always going to be grateful for. So God, I pray today. I pray for some people in this room that I know hurting and struggling. And I just ask today, God, you move. We're not robots. This isn't a ignore it, pretend like it didn't happen. Paul didn't do that. But it is a time for us to step back and say, God, I'm not in control. I know you are. So help me, maybe not with clarity, but help just give me trust without control. That's what peace is. Peace is simply trusting you when I'm not in control, not clarity of how it's all going to work out. Pray today that you would speak to some people's hearts and give them that peace, give them a comfort that can only come from you. As they say these words, God, I know you're in control. Good or bad, I know you're in control. God, I'm trusting you. Jesus, we thank you for that. I thank you for this amazing group of people. Pray for all the churches in this area around the world today. Just God, that you use them, bless them. And God, like Phil said, more than anything, help us to walk out these doors and be a great church, not this building, us people for the tri-state. We ask these things in your name, and amen. Guys, hope you have a great week. Love to see you back next week for part 2. Take care.
Seems to me that I'm alive again, despite the talk from the associates. Listerine won't kill the aftertaste. Another night just to